Hello everybody. Welcome back to Minecraft in my 20s, a series where I show off progress in my survival world while yapping about talk topics and thoughts that I had while playing. For a quick summary of what's going on, I'm working on a mega base inspired by the tower mode in Minecraft Dungeons, which is gearing up to have a ton of floors themed off of different biomes populated with useful and mysterious looking contraptions. Starting things off with the bottom two floors explored in the last episode establishing the basic infrastructure of the build, I was able to finally begin the first really exciting floor, being a recreation of the classic plains and forest biome combo, fitted with a couple villagers to trade with and some thematically appropriate farms. I had a lot of fun embracing the surreal feeling of the idea and used this as an opportunity to break up the symmetry of the bottom two floors, adding a good deal of wonk and chaos as seen in the Minecraft dungeon structure. There wasn't a ton of planning involved, just a good deal of seeing what best fits where, so forgive me if things look a little odd at times. In the meantime, as we move forward with the build, how about I start us off with the main talk topic of the episode. So, over the course of putting this structure together, something clicked with me. I realized that, through most of my life, I never really understood Minecraft. Or, at least, I never understood how to accomplish the things that I wanted to get out of the game. To back up a little, as I'm sure everyone remembered, it was a very internet culturally charged game back in its prime. And I would bet that what we watched online likely inspired how we all went about enjoying it. If you watched these types of creators, you probably got the most excited about playing online with your friends and creating goofy scenarios. If you were into these sorts of creators, chances are you got really into modding and pushing Minecraft to its limits. And if you were a kid like me, who really just enjoyed songs and animations more than actual gameplay, well, I bet the influences were a little harder to validate. Music videos like the Captain Sparkle saga especially portray Minecraft as a game about exploration and adventure, about exploring a vast and mysterious world on the hunt for ancient evil. Overall, the majority of the content that I remember consuming centered the most around the survival aspects of the game. Like, can anyone remember a single Minecraft parody with lyrics about creative mode? No, every single one that I still recall today was about killing the Ender Dragon, fighting Herobrine, stockpiling diamonds, or surviving some sort of mob-themed existential threat. And if it makes any sense, I feel like that influenced and restricted the way that I played the game. Just going off the media that surrounded me, Minecraft was apparently supposed to be a somewhat fantasy world, where exploring dangerous places, getting stronger gear, and locating the dragon were the whole point. When I was 12 and running around on my first infinite world back on my dad's computer, sure, that was the coolest thing on earth. That guy from Take Back the Night? Yeah, I was literally him, riding my horse to what felt like the furthest corners of the earth to find every temple, monument, and village that I could. But once I beat the Ender Dragon for the first and only time back in 2014, my enjoyment of the game fell off because you really only have an experience like that once. It's no secret that Minecraft, if treated somewhat like an open-world RPG, kinda sucks in the long term. Its progression and exploration are frankly nowhere near as polished or purposeful in comparison to something like Terraria or Breath of the Wild. But of course that's totally okay, because Minecraft in the long run isn't all about that. When you're new to the game and everything is mysterious, it works great as a fantasy of sorts, but once you have experience, you ultimately have to treat it like the sandbox that it is, in order to draw out long-term enjoyment. It's a game where the more you put in, the more you get out. Back to those YouTube videos that I used to watch as a kid, I remember how many of the songs that I loved included some seriously cool structures as set pieces. Be it the castle in Fallen Kingdom, the mansion in Revenge, the terraformed jungle in This Is My Biome, or most memorably for some reason, the bizarre fortress in Cubeland. And I always wanted to build something like that in my world. Between my Dragon Slayer arc and now, I've had a couple of worlds which I've tried to recreate the magic in, and despite getting better at building as I've gotten older, I always quit before I actually achieve what I want. See, I used to blame this on annoyance with what I thought were the game's flaws. We all know the ones. I would eventually hit an obstacle that seemed too daunting or annoying to deal with, start playing something else for the time being, and just not come back until the next exciting content update would get me briefly inspired back into the same cycle. Though, ultimately, there are solutions to many of my grunts and groans. Tired of manually collecting, sorting, and crafting resources? Build farms and sorters. Tired of running out of XP for enchantments? Set up a mob grinder. Tired of not being able to easily locate the structures that you want to go to? Bring villagers into your base and trade for maps. Tired of running out of inventory space? spend some time getting shulker boxes. Though I never followed through with any of these solutions because they didn't match my perception of how the adventurous, whimsical Minecraft should be played. Being a game where resources have to be mined from the earth, where monsters should be hunted in the wild, villagers should stay in their villages, and where I almost always avoided the end because I was waiting for another perfect, once-in-a-lifetime dragon-killing experience that would never come. Ultimately, I was just afraid that any sort of efficient playstyle would be immersion-breaking, I guess. You know, ignoring the fact that this is a game with floating trees and surreal gravity-defying landscapes and monsters that explode. But, you know, I'm sure there are some people who relate. For what is starting to give me a change of heart, I never really processed how demanding major build projects would be in survival. It's sort of hard to wrap your head around the sheer amount of materials and time that things can require sometimes. And even if I knew that something would be a big drain on resources, it always seemed like a number that would be feasibly achieved with just a little bit of organic, adventurous playtime. Now, surely I will come out of this next caving session with more than enough stone to make some serious headway on my castle, right? Yeah, no. It wasn't until I started taking on this current building project that I started doing actually math for what I would need, and discovering that my mental plans for my tower megabase would exceed hundreds of thousands of blocks was, yeah, a bit of an eye-opener to say the least. If I wanted to actually finish what I started, I would have to let go of my childhood perceptions of the game. This isn't Skyrim, but with a base building mechanic, like how I used to treat it.
This is Minecraft!
And sometimes an immersive egg or two need to get broken on the path to enjoying my omelet. Though despite my openness to automation and exploration of unintended mechanics being changed, my general desire for cohesiveness and some semblance of narrative have not. I may have allowed myself to build an iron farm for the first time ever last week, but I will die on the hill of never building something like that just purely functionally and out in the open. Things gotta look nice and have a sense of place for me. Hence why the tower theming works so well for incorporating all of the bizarre farms and machines that I'm gonna need. If you've played Minecraft Dungeons, you would know how the place has such a fittingly bizarre and nonsensical vibe. If I'm going to build a structure capable of fulfilling a survival world's every need and want, well shit, it better look monumental and mysterious. My first major step towards fulfilling this was the recreation of whole villager houses. I planned for there to be 2 or 3 villager professions on each floor of the tower, with the more useful ones relegated to the lower floors just for the sake of relative convenience. I was planning on having just a farmer and an armorer, since I think they're some of the more useful ones to have. Thankfully, since these were cured zombies, I can get golden carrots and diamond armor for dirt cheap, so hell yeah, that's a pretty good start. And yes, I intend to get a librarian capable of selling me mending, but I need some setup to breed a swamp villager, and of course I'm going to place him on my swamp and dark forest themed floor, so that will be down the line. Since I had my stonecutter out for the building process, though, one of these 2 villagers' offspring ended up turning into a stonemason. I figured screw it, I might as well keep him around, and I ended up incorporating his house into what would be my iron farm. On that subject, I struggled getting started a little bit, because while I've had a basic understanding of redstone since I was a kid, I really didn't know how to approach villager AI and golem spawning mechanics since I feel like they've changed so much through the years. At first I tried building a design entirely on my own, trying to use fully free-roaming villagers as a spawning catalyst, but I couldn't get it working, and I figured that even if I could, that it would be too inefficient to really be worthwhile. So in order to just keep going, I took a design off the internet. I'll link it in the description to give credit. Since golem spawners need a lot of space to restrict them from popping up in unwanted areas, I ended up needing to extrude out this huge platform. While I was waiting for more villagers to populate the spawner, I took the time to build up some supports so that this farm would look good extending from the center of the tower, in the same vein as my stone brick machine on the floor below. Once I got the spawner set up, I decided to try out copper golems for the first time, and have them organize the spoils for me. Ideally, I thought that it would be nice to retrieve everything from inside the stonemason's house without having to step foot in the farm, so I strung the chests through the wall with hoppers, using levers to close it off most of the time so that the golems have items that stay on their side to use as a sorting reference. So whenever I need iron, I can just pull the lever and let the chest fill. It's definitely an unnecessary solution for a silly problem, but who doesn't like pulling levers to make numbers go up? As a final step, I wanted to add just a little bit of pop to the farm since there was a ton of open air which looks underused in such a densely decorated structure. Even though I don't intend for the inside of the actual farm to be seen except for when I need to troubleshoot, I used a lot of copper grates on the outside to give a somewhat blurred look into the machine. I thought that it would be good to put a backdrop of vague machinery. It does give an impression of functionality from the outside especially, so mission accomplished. And next up, I knew that honeycomb was going to be a big material down the line, be it for waxing copper on higher floors to give an overall gradient of oxidized to pristine from bottom to top, which is gonna look incredible, or for candles to maybe use in a void effect, so a bee farm definitely sounded necessary. I quickly dug a room into the side of the mountain here and set up a simple design using hives that I stole while exploring the world at night. If I ever decide to make changes to this part, I would probably extend this farm with more realistic landscape mimicry like the rest of the floor so that the bees have more space to travel around in, but for now I think that it's good enough. The final step for this floor was to create a stairway up to the next and decorate the outside. My villagers also started to really multiply, and to get them out of the way a little, I started prepping them to be ballooned up to the higher floors, so that aspect of the build should keep rolling quite smoothly. I finally was able to make use of a happy ghast, and since I always wanted to ride a ghast as a kid, used one as the mascot for my terrible childhood YouTube channel, I really enjoyed embracing this feature. Floating around somewhat aimlessly while trying to create a good-looking finish to some of the wonky forms that I came up with did prove to be a pretty big challenge, but I'm happy with the results. This build is sure going to get weird once we start getting up to the clouds, and I'm so excited. Overall, I feel like I finally went over the hump that stopped me when trying to enjoy the game long term in the previous years. I put in a bit more of the tedious work, set up the infrastructure, and have the foundations for what I think might turn out to be a really great world. I look forward to sharing the next steps. In the meantime, thanks everybody for taking a good peek into my corner of the Minecraft multiverse, and let's build and talk another time.